This is the natural Dustin Rhodes, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling right here.
When they're not covering the sports world, they're talking about the world of professional wrestling.
It's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Now, here's Stu Myrick.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the horn. Stu Myrick flying solo tonight. Justin Simmons taking the night off. He had a busy weekend at Flow Sports and with St. Edwards, so he's going to rest his voice. But you know what? When he's gone, I hit the Rolodex, and the first name I hit, our dear friend, who I got to spend time with in Miami. It was good to see him. Always good to see him. Always good to talk to him. He is one of the best writers out there for the sporting news. Brian Fritz, follow him on Twitter at Brian Fritz. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Hello, Stu. I like it when it's just you and me because that means we get to talk more and don't have to hear from anybody else.
I love Justin.
Justin's great.
He is. He's awesome. I wanted to talk for a second before we get into like SmackDown and Raw and all that good stuff. So WWE had their fourth quarter financial conference call and released the report last week. You know, a lot of numbers there. Of course, income's up thanks to the TV deals with Fox and NBC Universal, as well as the Saudi Arabian government. But it's not all roses and M&Ms. You know, they're talking about, for instance, a lot of the consumer metrics are all trending down. WWE is by no means in trouble, and not even a little bit. But it is concerning that live attendance is down, subscriptions are down, merch sales is down. It seems like everything that has to do with the service to the consumer is going down.
It is, but I think that's one of the reasons why they're more so than ever before focused on what money can we get right now. That is a guarantee. I mean, look at the guarantee money they're getting from their TV deals, which are, it's astronomical when it comes to the deals here in the United States. And they're always trying to figure out, like, what is the most amount of money that we can get right now because those metrics are down. They're not getting as much money from live attendance, especially for house shows. Merchandise was down, and a lot of that is because they're not running as many of these, non-televised events in the weekends and stuff like that. So, the big thing that came out of that call, well, actually, there's two things I thought. Number one, they really didn't get hammered considering that two executive vice presidents were fired just days before this call. And, you would think that would be something that they would get hit on a lot in that call, but it was barely mentioned. And then the other thing is, when it comes to the streaming service, when it comes to the WWE Network, because that platform has not reached anywhere near the goals that they had when they launched it. I mean, they thought by now it would be, closing in on 3 million subscribers. They're not close to that. I think if you include everybody around the world, they're still just over 1.4 million. So they're not close. And now they're talking with, as Vince McMahon put it, the majors when it comes to some of these over-the-top platforms about selling off at least WWE pay-per-views. And we don't know if that means every month. Would it mean just the big ones like WrestleMania and Royal Rumble and SummerSlam? Or could it even be something a lot bigger when it comes to all of the WWE Network? I don't think it would be that, but it sounds like it would just be the monthly pay-per-views. But if there are places out there that are interested in paying a fee to get those pay-per-views, WWE is going to make that deal. They're going to take that guaranteed money. It's very similar to what UFC is doing right now when it comes to ESPN, and that UFC has sold the rights to their pay-per-views to ESPN. And so now ESPN, they're going to plug those. They're going to promote those because they're the ones making the money off of it. And, they did that as an investment to get people to sign up for ESPN Plus, which is where those are at. And now WWE is hoping to take advantage of that similarly with their own pay-per-views. And now we just have to wait and see where that's going to land. It sounds like it's going to happen. Vince seemed very confident in that call that something was going to happen, and it's going to happen here in the first quarter. And the belief is that they'd like to get something done so we can launch before WrestleMania And WrestleMania is coming up on April 5th.
Yeah, they don't have too much time left. I mean, we're talking 6 weeks, 7 weeks left before WrestleMania. So if I mean, let's be honest. I don't see this year's WrestleMania leaving the network, but you're right. Could we see possibly next year, which by the way has been announced? They're going out west. They're going to be at SoFi Stadium, the new home for the LA Rams and the LA Chargers, which is.
And speaking of that,
yeah.
I think we should put money down right now, and I have no insider information about this, but it's somebody that's covered WWE for a long time, like yourself, and somebody that's also a wrestling fan, and we understand how these things work when it comes to the cities and buildings that get WrestleMania. I would like to put money down right now saying that WrestleMania in 2022 is going to be at the new football stadium in Las Vegas.
That makes total sense because that's what they seem to have been doing. Here lately, it's been either following the Super Bowl or coming after the Super Bowl. This past year in Miami, the next year will be in Tampa, just like new Super Bowl next year. So it seems like they've been following. And next year, the following year, SoFi Stadium, it'll host WrestleMania, and then it'll host the Super Bowl.
And trust me, WrestleMania was at MetLife Stadium last year, and it was an utter disaster.
Yes.
And I was one of the people that got stuck in the freezing rain waiting for an Uber for an hour and a half.
I know. I felt so bad. I felt so bad being warm and cozy inside the whichever bar it was in Manhattan. I was sitting at. But anyway, so let's say, for sake of argument, that WrestleMania 37, I guess that'll be the one in L.A., will be carried by somebody other than the WWE Network. So let's talk likely candidates. There's ESPN Plus, of course. There's Bleacher Report Live, which right now has the deal with AEW. So I doubt that would happen, but hey, crazier things have happened. Is there somebody else? I mean, I think everybody's looking towards ESPN Plus, but is there somebody else that we're not aware of that could vie for those rights?
It sounds like the favorite is not ESPN Plus, or there's been some talk that maybe Hulu would be a good partner because Hulu already does air Raw and SmackDown, or just Raw, like the day after in a condensed version. They've done that for a little while. ESPN owns, ABC, and they own Hulu as well. So, they could theoretically put it up even on Disney Plus, but Disney Plus is more family oriented stuff. I think they're more adult themed, different things. That's where that company will put stuff up on Hulu. So maybe that's something, but it seems like the favorite is going to be Peacock, which is the upcoming NBC streaming service. So there is a belief that Peacock would like to get into this and say, hey, we will just buy those pay-per-view rights. We'll put it on our platform. And like I said, we don't know if it's every month or if it would be just the bigger ones that WWE has, but they would pay a fee to have those. And then you would have to subscribe to Peacock to be able to watch them. Now, I don't think it would be a situation like what we get with UFC pay-per-views where you have to pay for ESPN Plus and then you pay a pay-per-view rate on top of that. I think that these shows would just be part of the regular subscription. So for Peacock, I think the cost for that is going to be, I might be wrong, but I think if you have like Comcast, it's like $5 a month. And if you don't, it's $10 a month is what it's going to be. And the thing is too, with Peacock, it is scheduled to launch like a week after WrestleMania. So if they can make a deal, would they move up the launch to do this? So that's the platform I think I would look at right now. It's probably working with WWE. They already have a relationship with them because Raw is already on an NBC property. So they already know the people on top of the food chain. So that makes a lot of sense. And you know what, when it comes to WrestleMania this year, even if they can't get that deal done in time, obviously they could just keep it on the network. Or I wonder if there is anything to Fox paying a fee and putting it on network TV.
That would be an absolute game changer because now you're talking about a Sunday afternoon in April, the first Sunday in April on the Fox broadcast network. Because I mean, they're not going to, if they're going to do that, they're not going to put it on on Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 2, or whatever.
Right. Like
they're
if they ever did something like
Fox.
this, I mean, if we sit here already and we talk about, that's a long show, WrestleMania, because there's a 2-hour pre-show, typically from, 4 to 6 Central. And then the show will go on until 11 p.m. Central. So altogether, you're talking like a 7-hour show. If they did something where they put it on Fox, I'd be curious to see how long the show is going to be, because there's going to be commercials, which is something we're not used to when it comes to a WWE pay-per-view.
You're exactly right. Talk with Brian Fritz from the Sporting News. Follow him on Twitter at Brian Fritz. So if that happens, say even if it's just WrestleMania or maybe just the Big Four, does that kind of spell the beginning of the end for WWE Network?
I'm curious what they would do. They've already had trouble with it. And I think the way that they would look at it is saying, hey, the people that subscribe to this service right now are our most loyal customers. And even if we don't have, say, the Big Four on there, they will still subscribe. We will not lose that much, because we'll still be offering them all the archives. NXT takeovers could still be on there as well. So if people want to watch those takeover live events, those are going to be on there. And I think WWE would up more special live events that you can only get on the network. Like, say they bring back, like, we've seen them do like Starrcade, before, for like just, 2 hours. They just brand a house show into an event like that. They could bring back Clash of the Champions, which is something, obviously, WCW did years ago. Mm-hmm. So they could do more live programs that are not technically pay-per-views, but they're special live events only available on the WWE Network. So, the network is underperformed, but I don't know if they'd really lose that much if they lost those pay-per-views.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the WWE Network in 2020 with these financial stats that have come out. Let's turn to what's happening inside the ring. So Friday night on SmackDown, Goldberg shows up, which, by the way, and someone's been bugging me. Apparently, he has a house near here or somewhere in the Hill Country. So someone heard somebody say from the Texas Hill Country. Well, Austin is we're kind of on the edge of the Texas Hill Country. So we might be building our wrestler database here in Central Texas. But anyway, so he comes on and he's talking about he wants to get back in the ring. He's still got that itch. And then here comes Bray Wyatt and the Firefly Funhouse. And we end up with The Fiend is going to defend the Universal Championship against Goldberg at Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. If anybody that is not a Saudi Arabian prince cannot be that excited about this match.
No, I'm a little surprised by this, and I'm not saying that this would be a better match. However, it sure felt like it was going to be Bray Wyatt against Kane at that show, because remember when Kane came back on TV like 3 or 4 weeks ago and was smack talking Bray Wyatt a little bit?
Yeah, and then Daniel Bryan came out. Yeah.
So, but yeah, they're going to do Bill Goldberg, and obviously that's a bigger name. Curious opponent for Bill. I mean, I know that Bill is still, he's very upset about the last match he had, which was against The Undertaker last year at a Saudi Arabia show. And he got knocked out, early on in the match, and it affected the match greatly. And he was ticked off about that, and he was embarrassed. And I'm sure maybe he wanted to have another match with Taker. I don't know if he went to WWE and asked for that, or what happened there. But I think we all believe that Bill was going to come back at some point. But to do Bill Goldberg against Bray Wyatt, it sure feels like something that's out of left field. And then I do not expect much out of that match.
Well, we know what the outcome's going to be. They're not going to put the Universal title on Goldberg this close to WrestleMania.
You sure?
It would be.
It would be very weird.
That would be That would be like that would be like what was the Bengals beating the Patriots, the Bengals beating the Oh, the Bengals winning Super Bowl. I mean, we're
Right.
talking. This is, come on. That's not, and I'll be honest. I'm a Bill Goldberg fan. I was back in WCW. I want to, when I see Bill Goldberg, I want to see the greatest hits. I want to see him, snort out the smoke, get to the ring, spear, jackhammer, 1, 2, 3, and walk away. It's that's just what I want to see. I don't want to see Bill Goldberg getting his gullet filled with that mandible claw from the Fiend.
Well, remember a few years ago when Bill Goldberg beat then WWE champion Kevin Owens in like 60 seconds.
Yes.
And we know that Bill Goldberg was going to be facing Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. We already basically knew that was going to be happening. However, I don't know if anybody really expected him to win the title there. And he didn't hold it for very long, obviously. I think it's highly doubtful that Bray loses the title. However, there is still name value with Bill Goldberg. And I do wonder if WWE looks at what they've done so far with the Fiend Bray Wyatt, and while they've sold good merchandise of it, what is their belief when it comes to where are we going with this character? Because if there's any doubt and they say, hey, we got this big show and do we really have an opponent or whatever, they could switch the title because they could say like, hey, it was going to take some kind of mythical superhero to defeat Bray Wyatt, and they found it in Bill Goldberg. So I mean, I'm just saying it's a possibility. I think it's highly unlikely, but I'm going to leave that door cracked open.
I guess. I mean, yeah, there's a chance.
I mean, I think
just,
I believe it's going to be Roman Reigns against Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania, and
right.
Roman will be the one to beat him. But hey, man, what if they put the title on Goldberg and they did Goldberg against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, like the Battle of the Spears?
You know what the funny thing is? I think that might be a better match than Fiend and Reigns.
Well,
I don't know why.
Roman have had good matches before. Remember that one year they did a Hell in a Cell match. It was really good. But I mean, there's a lot of bells and whistles that go into those matches. So
yeah, I think the last thing we want is to put the Fiend back in a cage again.
I wonder about that because it seems like the ideas that they have for Bray Wyatt, like they get off to a good start and crowds get into him, but then once he's in the ring on a regular basis, and then where they're going to go with the ideas and develop them, I think that's where WWE has a problem.
Well, it's because, as Justin, my co-host, would say, when it's all said and done, it's still Bray Wyatt. He's just wearing a mask.
Right.
It's still there's nothing that changes. It's not like the Fiend has a different wrestling style or wrestling moveset than Bray Wyatt. It's still Bray Wyatt.
The only difference
and he's a
is
fine wrestler. Don't get me wrong, but I just can't buy into it. I don't know.
Yeah, he kicks out of every move. That's the only difference.
Right, because he's the Fiend, and we've booked him as some supernatural being. So,
and that's one of the problems I always have when it comes to these supernatural beings. I think that you can do a weird out of the box character, but once you go to the supernatural place where somebody is like, got these special powers and kicks out of every move, I think that's a problem because I think you're booking yourself into a corner because it's like, how do we get out of this? How does this person lose when the right time comes? Can we build up the right opponent and make this person lose? And what do we do in the meantime with this person? And then what do we do after they suffer that first loss?
Yep.
I think those questions have to be answered when you get into this, and I don't think WWE has.
I said that when the Fiend beat Seth in Saudi for the title. I said the exact same thing. I said, okay, now where do you go from here? Who takes the title off of the Fiend that is believable? And the fact of the matter is, you can't suspend disbelief to have some mere mortal take the title off of something supernatural. Yeah. It doesn't happen. So. The other big announcement about Super Showdown, because we just can't get enough of Roman Reigns and King Corbin, we thought the blow-off was the dog food thing. And believe me, I was happy to see that, but no. We're going to get at least one more match inside a steel cage in Saudi Arabia. Why? I mean, outside of because the Saudi government wants it, why?
Yeah. That's all it is, man.
That's all it is.
Another match for a show.
It's these Saudi shows that just throw a wrench into booking like crazy. It's just,
you know what's weird about that too? Because there's plenty of people that get upset with WWE, and rightfully so, that they're doing these shows for huge money in Saudi Arabia, considering all the political climate that goes into that. You know, these shows, like, typically mean nothing. You know, Seth did lose the championship, you know, in the last one that they did. That's the first time and the only time that something notable has really happened on one of these shows. And, you know, WWE caters these shows to the live audience in Saudi Arabia, and especially when it comes to the Prince there, right? But yet they promote these shows heavily during Raw, during SmackDown, online, all these different things. It's like, what do you care? I'm like, this show means nothing to your normal audience. It's all catered to the live audience there in Saudi Arabia. So why are you promoting it so damn hard to everybody else when the show doesn't mean squat? And a lot of times people are offended that you're doing this cash grab of a show in the first place in that country.
Exactly. It's basically a house show in Saudi Arabia. That's all it is. They has
with a lot of fireworks.
With a lot of fireworks.
You know.
We get a lot of pyro, so
yeah. I mean, by the way, they're doing that other match. What's the gauntlet match for the whatever cup or whatever?
that trophy, the toot whatever mountain trophy. I don't even know what a toot mountain is. Why should I care about this trophy?
I can't wait for Shane McMahon to enter himself in the gauntlet and win it.
Oh my God. Oh, that could be. Oh, that would be.
He's
so
already
bad.
the best in the world.
Why
and then
not
he could have the whatever trophy?
It would be just as absurd. So I get you. Monday Night Raw. Okay, explain to me why Shayna Baszler decided to go all Dracula on Becky Lynch. I get you want to attack. I know you want to attack. I get the attack. Makes perfect sense. But then to bite her and draw blood.
That must be Vince McMahon's idea for what he thinks of MMA. MMA is savage. He wanted a savage attack and draw blood.
You mean Mr. Blood and Guts?
He could have done the same thing. I mean, Shayna could have attacked her on her own, like the way she did when she jumped her, and Shayna could have hit her, and they could have. I mean, she could have hit her with a weapon or something, and they could do she drew blood, which wasn't real blood. It doesn't need to be. But they could have done something with a weapon or whatever, or they don't even have to draw blood. Just have her get attacked from behind. Hit her with a chair, afterwards, or bring in like a chain or something. I don't know. Something like that. If you want to show that she's a vicious fighter or something like that, then she could drop Becky from behind and then hit her with a weapon. But for whatever reason, they did this whole thing where she took out her mouth guard and bit her in the neck, which. I have no idea how they came up with that. I mean, it's just so wild and so weird. I know that they wanted to get some attention for it, but in the moment, I think it was the wrong kind of attention because it came off a little goofy.
I couldn't agree more. Not to mention, this is coming from the same man that was criticizing AEW for their hardcore matches, saying, "Oh, we're not all about that blood and guts." And then here you got Shayna Baszler with her mouth covered in blood. Because she decided to take a chunk out of Becky's neck. It's real simple.
What was weirder? Was it the fact that she bit her in the neck, or the fact that Becky refused help, drove herself to the, not hospital, because you're not allowed to say that on WWE television, local medical facility in the ambulance, and then apparently drove herself back after she was attended to, and on top of that, the doctors into this place didn't even wipe the blood off of her.
Of course not. Because, we got to, again, it just, I don't know.
Becky was so mad she had to drive herself to in the ambulance.
She, drove herself back to the arena so she could make the, let Shayna know she hadn't, put her down. Okay, sure. Real quick, one other thing, and it looks like, so Matt Hardy comes out during Randy Orton's little, attempt at a promo, and Orton ends up doing the one-man concerto on Matt Hardy. It looks like this is it. Matt Hardy is done with WWE. His contract expires on March 1st. Could we be looking at the new exalted leader of the Dark Order in AEW?
I think we could. I mean, it feels like it'd be something that would be pretty obvious for Matt to fit in that slot. And even though it is obvious, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it.
Right.
If it's the right fit and the right role, then yes. And I think that's where everybody's turning their attention when it comes to Matt. Matt, I believe, still wants to do this for at least a couple of more years. The good thing is if he went to AEW, he'd still be on national TV. He'd be in a good role. And he probably would not be wrestling every week because Matt's, 42 now, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been doing this for a long time, and he's taken some really big bumps in his career. So, I mean, if he's on AEW television, say he doesn't work anywhere else, that means he's probably going to do, even if he does something like this, say he's in that role, he'd probably only wrestle, 10, 15 times a year?
Are you fat?
Right. So, I mean, I think that would be a very, a great fit. And plus, I think Matt would be a bonus for what he brings, backstage when it comes to just his mind for wrestling. I think would be a great addition.
I couldn't agree more. I think it'd be a fantastic ad. I'm not sold on Christopher Daniels becoming the Exalt because I don't want to break up SCU right now. So right. I say let's pull the trigger on Matt Hardy, give him the money, bring him in, let him work the light schedule that AEW has, and have him do some coaching backstage, have him do coaching with Dustin and with Chris and some of the guys, and I think it'd be a fantastic ad. And I think Tony Khan would, I think that's one deal Tony Khan could close. So,
yeah, and I don't think we'd be looking necessarily at Broken Matt Hardy. I almost think it would be like an offshoot of Broken Matt Hardy because I don't know if he necessarily wants to go back to that. I think he would want to do something that's different and outside the box, but something that's just not copying what he's done in the past.
Yeah, I agree.
But mind you, even if he does this role, why the hell is the Dark Order still around?
Well, they looks like they've gotten rid of the Nightmare Collective. So, right. Brandy Rhodes went on with Brian Alvarez and basically said, yeah, it's pretty much done. In fact, on AEW Dark, we saw Luther challenging Jimmy Havoc. So it looks like, Brandy is back to being Brandy. And and so just the Dark Order. And I'm okay with one cult in AEW. I didn't need three. So
right.
let's stick with that one. Let's see where it goes. And especially if they add Matt Hardy, I think it'd be good. He is Brian Fritz. Follow him on Twitter at Brian Fritz. Read all his stuff on sportingnews.com. Brian, always a pleasure to chat with you. Hope to talk to you again real soon. All the best to you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Appreciate it, man, and glad that you left Miami with a spectacular tan.
Just like you, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Brian.
You got it.
Great stuff there from Brian Fritz from the Sporting News, and he's got a point about the Matt Hardy thing. And I agree. I think Matt Hardy would make the perfect exalted leader for the Dark Order. So we'll see what happens. Coming up next on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, you'll get to hear from six-time WWE Women's Champion Mickie James. The interview I did on Radio Row at Super Bowl 54. She had a special guest with her to talk about a cause that means a lot to them. You'll hear that next on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everybody!
This is the American Psycho Lance Hoyt, and you are listening to the Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Everybody
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. Stu Myrick flying solo this week. When I was in Miami for Super Bowl 54, anchoring the Horn's coverage there, among the guests that I was able to connect with on Radio Row, two guests in particular, one of which I got to talk to last year. It was so good to see her, the former six-time WWE Women's World Champion Mickie James was there, and along with her was the wife of former Eagles quarterback great, former NFL great Donovan McNabb, Roxy McNabb, and they were there to talk about the Caris Sports Foundation. It was great to talk to them, and so we started out by simply asking Roxy, what is the Caris Sports Foundation, and what do they do?
Well, Caris Sports Foundation, it's basically a youth sports foundation that provides kids with the opportunity to play sports. Donovan and I dealing with club sports and rec sports and just coaching our kids. We've come to find out that there are a lot of kids who don't have the opportunity to play, and it's based on their financial barriers to sport. And it's not just the kids that come from, poor backgrounds. These are kids from two-parent working households where it just has become a financial burden. We see that, children that are in households where parents make $100,000 or more are more likely to participate, where those children that are $25,000 or less are actually dropping out of sport. So we're trying to change that narrative.
That's something that, and again, talking about, sports, especially in school programs, it's so vital because they teach so much more than just how to play a sport. It's teamwork. It's learning it's self-confidence, building confidence in yourself and learning a skill and learning, and not to mention keeping physically fit. Mm-hmm. Talk about what they are doing. Give me a couple examples of how the foundation has helped, infuse energy into those sports programs.
It's just giving the kids the opportunity. We've had children write into us because they have to write us an essay as to why they need these funds. And it's like, I have 5 siblings, and my parents put a lot into me, and I want my siblings to have the opportunity to play. So if you can help me, then I can help my parents, in turn, help my younger siblings play. And so those stories are that's what's heartwarming. These kids are looking to help their parents because they know how hard it is, how much of a sacrifice these parents are making. Parents tell us we don't go on family vacations because of time and money. We put so much of that into our youth sports. So if a family can go on vacation because we can help, their kid play, then that's a win-win for everyone.
It really is. And Mickie, talk about your involvement. This got something near and dear to your heart with your kids and everything.
Absolutely. I mean, my son's so young now, and we are very blessed that we're going to be able to have that opportunity. I know you were saying that earlier with your children. It's like you don't really have to worry about that with your own kids, but you think about even people within my own family, like nieces, nephews, and all this stuff. It's just super beneficial. And, I spoke with Roxy when I first talked to her a couple months ago, right? And she was explaining to me the need for it for the children on the reservations of trying to get off the reservations. There's so many super talented kids, and it's become such a sport, such a business, that it is limiting who they can allow to participate. And that's unfortunate because there are some incredibly talented kids out there. And just because they don't come from the same financial background or whatever doesn't mean that they shouldn't be allowed to play. Everyone should be allowed to play. Couldn't
agree more. Find out more information at Caris, CARIS, sportsfoundation.org. Such a wonderful, wonderful charity. Such a great purpose. I'm blessed to be a part of NFL alumni, and of course our motto, caring for kids, and everything we do with children's charities and stuff. And it's just, anytime we can help kids become the best them they can be, that's the way life should be, right? That's Absolutely. The way it is. All right, so let's talk a little football first. Because I know Donovan, and I'm sure Nick has probably watched a couple games. Let's talk about Sunday's game. Do you have rooting interest? Let's talk, Niners Chiefs, or is it just we're just in for the commercials at the halftime and maybe see some good football?
Well, we still have a relationship with Andy and Tammy, so
right.
I'm absolutely rooting for the Chiefs. So I'm not even going to pretend.
There you go.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes, I got to interview him a couple times. I've met his parents. We're all from the same area in Northeast Texas, so Kyle Shanahan's a former Longhorn wide receiver. So I mean, my loyalties are split a little bit, but I'm leaning the Chiefs. It's time. So
it's time.
Mickie,
I'm leaning
towards
towards the Chiefs as well. Yeah, I'm a Cowboys fan,
yes.
We were out a long time ago, honey.
I'm
so sorry.
Believe me, I'm there with you.
I say this every year.
We're the Cowboys radio affiliate in Austin, so I go cover the Cowboys home games.
Right.
And so, being the journalist, I have to be objective, but yeah, there are times when I just kind of hang my head, in silent depression.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. We say that every year.
Yeah,
too.
it's been that way. It's been that way for a while. Maybe next year.
Yeah.
We'll see with Mike McCarthy. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
So,
I'm excited about that.
all right, Mickie.
We're going for the Chiefs, baby.
Going for the Chiefs.
Yes.
All right, Mickie, you've been rehabbing from injury. I know.
I have. I'm pretty close.
I was going to ask, when are we going to see you? You're still Raw? Are you
Well, I'm technically a SmackDown talent.
Okay, okay.
I think I'm still listed on the website as a SmackDown
I
talent,
thought-
but I
okay.
never debuted on SmackDown.
Right.
Once in the draft when I
Yeah.
got drafted over. However, I've been coming to Raw television, and I'm
Yes.
the new commentator for Main Event,
That's right.
which I've coined Main Event Mickey.
Main event,
for all the-
of course.
yeah.
Hashtag main event Mickie.
Hashtag that. Yeah, no, unfortunate because Byron he's so incredible.
He is.
He's
He's
great.
very
I have
good.
a great teammate out there, and
Corey
he's
Graves
really,
gives him way too much grief.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
But then
just,
again,
I
Corey
think
Graves
Corey's
is a-
just jealous because he knows Byron's
well,
better.
because Corey just can't wear hair. That's all.
No, I love Corey. He's great.
How's the commentary gig going?
It's going great. At first, I didn't love it
Yeah.
because I didn't think I was good at it, and it's just your own self-reflection kind of
Right.
thing, beating yourself up. But now I'm starting to find my own groove
Mm-hmm.
and get into it, and I enjoy it. It's cool to tell that story from a different person's perspective of like adding that validity of what the play-by-play is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can tell him from my perspective of like, yes, that really hurts, and this is why it hurts. Or,
Yeah.
I can see what that person was thinking there or using to their advantage because of certain situations, because I've been in those situations where perhaps that play-by-play guy has not. So
Right.
Right.
I've been lucky enough. I do a little commentary on the independent circuit, and trying to you want to keep that wrestling sports tinge to it, but you're also trying to tell the story too.
Right.
Trying to help the wrestlers tell the story of the match. And,
Right.
And it's so much fun now. Like you, when I first started, it was like I got to stop doing that. I got to change this. But now, like you said, kind of get in the groove, and you find, and especially if you work with somebody for a while,
especially when they're so good. Like
That's right.
Byron is like an encyclopedia. Like he knows everything about everyone and everybody's moves, and I'm just following along, and I'll just throw in my little blurb in there, something pretty witty or clever that I think is whatever, and then he keeps it rolling. So I'm grateful for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Talk with Mickie James and Roxy McNabb. Mickie, real quick, and you and I talked about this last year, but it just seems like every time you turn around, women's wrestling takes more leaps and more leaps. And
It's amazing.
I'll ask you, because I know it's not WWE, but Tessa Blanchard becoming a world champion.
It's kind of cool.
It's
Yeah.
a little bit of a barrier breaker.
Right. I mean, I'm thankful that she beat like a guy like Sammy Callahan instead of a Booker T. Can you imagine?
I know.
No offense. Sammy is amazing. He's a great athlete.
Sammy's
It's really,
a great guy.
it's pretty fascinating because I guess that's not one thing that I ever thought I would see as a woman holding the same belt that Sting and all like Kurt
Right.
Angle and Booker T and these guys who are men's men.
Yes.
And I would never step in the ring with them.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to fight anybody like that,
And
you know?
Tessa's about your size, too.
And she is my size.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, but kudos to her. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. I love seeing women making huge strides. And
Absolutely.
it's especially when, when I started, when I came from, and even like say where Tessa is now, when I was her age, like women just weren't thought of in that same capacity.
Yeah.
We
You're right.
were just a side piece, a novelty. We'd have a few matches here and there. And it's like, I'm grateful for the opportunity that I was able to help facilitate a movement that then has just taken down all those barriers.
Right.
And now women are seen as serious competitors
Absolutely.
on every level. So that's awesome.
Roxy McNabb, Caris Sports Foundation. Mickie James, multiple-time world champion. So good to talk to you, ladies. All the best to you. Best of luck with the Caris Sports Foundation. CarisSportsFoundation.org for all the details. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, you can find out more information about the Caris Sports Foundation at Caris, that's C-A-R-I-S, sportsfoundation.org. Again, a great organization helping kids, give them the opportunity to participate in organized sports and by, helping with finances. So it was great to talk to them. It was great to see Mickie James later in the week, that weekend at Donovan McNabb's Super Bowl party. Can't wait to see her back in the ring very soon. Not to mention some great music coming from her, so make sure you check that out. Some fantastic tunes. There was a wonderful video during Christmas that she did a song and had the whole family, including her husband, the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis, there, and the kids, and it was such a nice video. So when we come back from this timeout, we'll let you know what's happening in independent wrestling around the area. You're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, and you're listening to The Horn, where Austin talks wrestling.
SGU!
This is the heavy metal rebel Frankie Kazarian, member of the hottest trio on the planet, SoCal Uncensored SCU, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
SCU from the Golden State.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. Stu Myrick flying solo this week. By the way, if you missed it, and if you're listening to us on the Horn, we usually pre-tape this thing, and sure enough, we pre-taped it because right now, Justin and I are at the HEB Center in Cedar Park for AEW Dynamite, but put out a special preview podcast episode. You can find it on hornfm.com and on your favorite podcast provider, where we previewed AEW Dynamite here in Austin and talked to not only all three members of SCU, but had the natural Dustin Rhodes, our good friend, stop by and chat with me. So check that out. A lot of good independent wrestling happening this weekend. We got to tell you all about it. We are going to start with SOAR Championship Wrestling. Our friend King Mo up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, he presents SOAR Mania. It'll be Thursday night at the Richardson Civic Center. Bell time, 8 p.m. Godzilla Jax Dane will be there. The Machine Brian Cage, Davey Boy Smith Jr., Barrett Brown, Cheeseburger, and more. That's SOAR Championship Wrestling Thursday in Richardson. Heavy Metal Wrestling presents No Strings Attached. That's this Saturday at the 502 Bar in San Antonio. Doors open at 8 p.m. You'll see the Impact Wrestling X Division champion Ace Austin there. Great Scott, Dirty Andy Dalton, Kiefer Bartek, and more. That's Heavy Metal Wrestling Saturday night in San Antonio. And U4IA, or Euphoria Pro Wrestling, presents Starting Point, their debut event. It'll be Sunday at the Woodlawn Gym in San Antonio. Bell time, 6:30 p.m. Jacob Fatu, the current MLW World Heavyweight Champion, will be there. Myron Reed, Ruthless Ryan Davidson, Moonshine Mantell, Roxy, and more. That's Euphoria Pro Wrestling this Sunday in San Antonio. And that's a look at independent wrestling around the area. Make sure you go check out a show. Support independent wrestling wherever you are. Got a great weekend coming up. We've got NXT TakeOver Portland on Sunday night on the WWE Network. Our man Keith Lee defending the NXT North American Championship against Dominik Dijakovic. It'll be another Mac Classic because those two can only put out. Adam Cole going after Tommaso Ciampa. Adam Cole defending the NXT Championship, plus a bunch of great matches. So check that out. Sunday, 7 p.m., 6 p.m. Central on the WWE Network, NXT TakeOver Portland. That's coming up. And that'll do it for this week's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Justin will be back next week, and we'll cover everything that's happening in pro wrestling. Probably have a few stories from AEW Dynamite here in Austin. But for now, you can follow Justin the Smash Simmons on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at The Smash Simmons. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Stu Myrick. That's STEWMYRICK. You can follow the show on Twitter at SGTWATX. Follow the station on Twitter at The Horn ATX. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. We are proud to be the official broadcast partner of the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and we're proud to be part of the great lineup you hear every day. On the flagship station for the Texas Longhorns, we are The Horn. Catch us Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Central, on The Horn, 104.9 AM 1260, hornfm.com, or anytime on demand by going to hornfm.com, click on the On Air tab, or by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast platform. My thanks to Brian Fritz from the Sporting News for joining me, and my thanks to you for giving me a little bit of your time tonight. I'm Stu. We will see you at the matches.